Oh boy, when you did everything you could and you still take a tough loss, it hurts. The Los Angeles Rams were not expected to do much in the 2023 season after a horrible 2022 Super Bowl defense attempt. That being said, they managed to compete hard enough to claim the 6th seed in the NFL playoffs. How did the season go for the Rams? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at their season and break it down. So going back to the start of the season, they looked good. They had a tough schedule to start the season for the first 5 weeks, as they were set to go up against the Seahawks, 49ers, Bengals, Colts, and Eagles. In these games, they went 2-3, but almost beat the Bengals in a close 16-13 game. They also managed to beat the Seahawks and the Colts in this stretch, and played the 49ers and Eagles close, losing by 7 and 9 points respectively. From here, they had a big win over the Cardinals to get back to 500 before taking a tough loss to the Steelers via the Steeler way. And this was the start of a tough 3-game stretch as they proceeded to lose to the Cowboys and Packers the next 2 games by a combined 40 points. At 3-6, the Rams were considered dead in the water and their season would likely be over soon. But then, something happened. The offensive line started to play good football, the defense was clicking, the offense was just having fun out there, and the Rams went on to win 7 of their last 8 games. Their only loss in this stretch was a close one against the Ravens, which could have very well gone the Rams' way had the refs called proper penalties on the Rams' last drive, but I digress. They also managed to beat the Browns and the 49ers backups in this stretch, and the Rams ended up beating and ending the 9-game regular season win streak the Niners had over the Rams in this stretch too. With the Rams at 10-7 and things looking bright in their camp, they were set to go up against the Detroit Lions in the wildcard round. This was set to be Stafford's return to Detroit, and how was he welcomed back? Well, the man that finally gave this franchise something to cheer for was booed into oblivion the first time he showed on the field. The fans showing little to no respect to the man that gave them some hope in the 2010s and gave them something to cheer for. I get that it was a playoff game, but I still think you should have at least had the decency to clap the first time he got on the field. Anyway, after this, the Rams went on to play a tight back-and-forth game in the first half, trailing 21-17 at the break. In the second half, though, it was all about defense. But the Rams ended up coming back and made it a 1-point game, but they could not seal the deal. Now here comes my rant about the game here. One gripe I have with this game is that yes, the Rams did struggle in the red zone, and had they have converted, they would have played a lot better, but the officiating was also pretty bad. There was one call in the first half that should have been a 5-yard penalty against the Rams that instead went as a call against the Lions as a false start. So, you know, I get the refs might want to make a little makeup call here or there. I get it. But in the second half, as if to try and make up and overcompensate for that call, they didn't call either of the 2 50-50 defensive pass interference penalties that would have been against Detroit, giving the Rams, 20-30 yards. There was also a roughing the passer call that was not called when Stafford takes an elbow to the face after throwing the ball, which I don't know why, but that was a critical third down that would have given him a first down and goal about the 4-yard line. And then the big one is a nice pass that was interfered with as the receiver had his jersey tugged big time, obviously, and at the same time they decide, oh, we don't need to call that pass interference penalty that would have set up the Rams for a go-ahead field goal, by the way. It would have been inside the 30-yard line, would have been a chip shot field goal for Maher. But anyway, that's just my gripe on the game. Anyway, despite the rant, this season was a massive, massive win for the Rams. They found some new key guys that will be cornerstones of this franchise for years to come, and my only concern for this franchise going forward is the potential retirements. It's been a constant annual cycle. Who's going to retire? There's been a rumor that McVay has been wanting to go to the broadcast booth. He's been doing that ever since the Super Bowl victory. Thankfully, he stayed with the Rams each time, but will he eventually make that jump? It's an ever-looming threat for the Rams. Also, Aaron Donald, he considered hanging him up too after the Super Bowl. Does he do that after this season? I don't know. He is starting to get up there in age for a defensive lineman to be as dominant as he has been. I hope he doesn't, but there's a chance once again that he does decide to hang him up. And the last huge concern I have for this team is Matthew Stafford. He has taken an absolute beating since he entered the league in 2009. And the question is, does he come back once again to take another beating potentially? The offensive line did end up clicking down the stretch, but is that enough incentive for him to want to come back and risk another big injury? I mean, if everybody stays, this team can be something special next season. But if not, they're totally screwed. And that is my concern for this Rams going into the offseason. This offseason will just be an absolutely massive one that will be future defining for this team. As long as they can retain the right people and make the right moves, they will be set up to win Super Bowls for years to come.